Hi, this is Ghost with Corellian Run Radio, bringing you the strategy guide to the Warlord Kephess encounter in Nightmare Explosive Conflict. This guide is presented from a DPS point of view, but important details from other roles will be pointed out throughout the encounter. By no means is this the only method that works, but it is the method that works best for our operation group. You may have to adjust your strategy according to what works best for you. This guide is also based around the assumption that you are already familiar with the hard mode version of this encounter, as I will be primarily pointing out the differences between hard mode and nightmare. For phase 1, we separate the group into three. 3 DPS get on the middle siege bot and alternate interrupts, as you cannot miss more than 2 or 3 at max. The more stacks of calibrating shot that the bot gets, the higher their damage, as well as the damage reduction that they take. So more than 3, you might as well wipe and start over due to the amount of damage reduction they have. We also have the tanks taunting this bot as not to have the DPS take too much damage from them. We move to the second bot on the far side. This bot has 2 ops members, one of which is a marauder, since they have 2 interrupting abilities. Sentinel if you're on the public side. Since Marauders and Sentinels are the only class that have 2 interrupting abilities on separate cooldowns, you have to bring at least 1. Finally, we move to the last droid. This one we had the tanks and the 2 healers alternating interrupts. As we finish this final droid, we start looking around for the Baradian bomber to appear. It appears on the second location. We have the assassin pull the mob in and burn it down as quickly as possible. If you want to get a little extra DPS on the walker, you may try to coordinate your team and have a tank get the killing blow on the bomber. That will allow him to get the debuff and go up, and it'll allow the DPS to pre-prep their abilities in order to burn down the walker with maximum DPS. As we burn down the walker, the tanks start moving into position to pick up the Trandoshans that will appear in the next phase. This phase is by far the most difficult in this encounter. This strategy that we use is unique to our particular group, so you may have to adjust yours as needed. Our first assassin tank uses Force Shroud and does an AoE attack on all the first mob. The DPS focus their fire on the warriors in the group, single target, and then proceed to burn down the rest of the trench cutters. Our other assassin tank moves to the second group, does the same thing, Force Shroud, AoE attack, and kites them behind the walker. This is where things get complicated. We have an assassin tank, a Sork healer, a Sork DPS, and a operative DPS taking out that second group. In the meantime, we have our other tank pick up the third group. We have a Merc healer in the front, while the Marauder and Power Tech, which is myself, taunt one of the warriors out and proceed to burn it down single target. The assassin in the third group is kiting that second group, and when he comes by, we pop predation so they get that extra burst of speed. I pick out the second warrior and proceed to burn that one down as well. Once all warriors are dead, everyone proceeds to behind the walker. The tank with the third group pulls the final group in, and we burn them down. When there's only 1 or 2 left, we start kiting them out to the main field to prepare for the next Baradian bomber. We make sure everyone is topped off before killing that last Trandoshan trench cutter and prepare for the next Baradian bomber that comes in. Be sure to pull the person who gets the bomb out from underneath the walker as soon as possible to avoid any unnecessary damage. For the second burn phase, we try to get the walker below 30% or more. This will make the final burn phase easier, and you'll be able to get a little more extra DPS onto Kephess. Phase 3, the pulsar droids, are pretty much the same as they are in hard mode. Everyone needs to stack up on one, while the tank stands out to take the rail shots. The rail shots do hit harder, but they're nothing that a healer or two can't handle. The pause between the pulsar droid switchover seems a little faster, so you kind of have to preempt the move before the cast is completed. Right about now is when we're calling out to move, and everyone moves to the next, back to the original pulsar droid. If you've gotten this far, it's doubtful that you'll have any issues with this particular phase. Your tanks will need to coordinate on who picks up Kephess first, as there's still a Baradian bomber that needs to be tanked. The bomber, however, will appear after Kephess drops, so you can get a couple of hits on Kephess before the Baradian bomber makes its appearance. As the Baradian bomber's health dwindles, Kephess will take to the air. The tank on the bomber will need to peel off at this point, so stun the bomber so that it doesn't go chasing after the tank. Kephess's leaps are timed, so the faster you burn down the walker, the more quickly you can get onto Kephess and get extra DPS down onto him. As the walker goes down, everyone turns their attention to Kephess. DPS starts burning down. Healers should primarily focus on the tanks, as the DPS and the healers shouldn't really be taking any damage. As in hard mode, Kephess takes to the air, but a new trick for Nightmare is that he pulls the nearest person to this landing circle to him. The tank needs to be ready to taunt, and in our case, we don't do a tank swap because our tanks are using Force Shroud to eliminate the bleed. If you don't have an assassin or a shadow tank, then you'll have to deal with tank swaps for this phase as well. If your DPS is strong enough, you should only have to deal with 2 leaps. Here's Kephess pulling in the nearest target. It happens to be the tank, which he picks up and takes the bleed, but we want the other tank holding him for the next phase, so he taunts. The original tank Force Shrouds anyway not to take the effects of the bleed and make things a little easier for the healers. Here we are, positioning him for the Gift of the Masters. He casts it, and now is a good time to use any speed buffs, predation, force speed, whatever you have. Remember, healers, the DPS and the healers shouldn't be taking any damage at this point. If you can top them off, great. If not, then focus primarily on the tanks. The tanks will be taking a massive amount of damage. Tanks, if there are any cooldowns that you can use for each of these phases, please use it. This phase is pretty much the same as in hard mode, with the exception of the extra damage and that pull that you just saw that happened to one of our tanks. After the second circle is dropped, Kephess will pull in the tank with the circles, who immediately will need to run out in order to avoid dropping those circles on the operation. Move Kephess around as needed, and use as much space as you feel necessary in order to keep the purple circles under control. The taunt timing for Breath of the Masters is the same as in hard mode. Just be aware of the extra pull in and adjust Kephess's positioning as needed. One final thing to note is that if Kephess is able to kill 2 operation members during this phase of the fight, it is a guaranteed wipe, as he will start to channel Gift of the Masters and everyone will be one shot. be sure to visit us at CorellianRun.com to catch up on your latest Star Wars: The Old Republic news and information. And you can email us at CorellianRun@gmail.com. You can also visit my livestream channel at twitch.tv/ghost, GHOZTT, and subscribe, and you'll get notifications whenever I go live with a operation. Thanks for watching.